Welcome back, everyone, to another edition of Legal Legends Podcast. I'm your host, Rudy Rodriguez Shomont, Vice President of Strategic Partnership with Synergy. I have with me today another legal legend. He is a legal legend who's so busy that when we scheduled a couple of weeks ago, legal legend stuff came up for him, and we had to reschedule to today. So now you're going to get the fruit vlogger of the world, the travel extraordinaire, the TikTok genius, the social media maven of legal, and also a kick-ass attorney. Eric Rosen from Rosen Injury Law, the founder and owner of Rosen Injury Law. Am I doing a good job emceeing this thing?
Outstanding, bro. Outstanding.
Eric, I want to thank you so much. You were the first person to bring me onto a podcast, and I knew I had to repay the favor some way because that invitation really changed a lot for me at Synergy. So I say thank you again and again and again. Welcome aboard. What's been
Thanks
going
for
on,
having
man?
me, man. It's my pleasure. You listen, it's been a while since we did that last podcast. I got to get you over here again because you guys are so good. You guys have so much to offer, and dude, you're just a cool dude in general. So
Thank you. I appreciate it. I would love to do it again. I'm always happy to do it. It's awesome. It was a great time. And I need to lose a few more pounds because I got fat while my wife was pregnant. Yeah, somehow I got fat and she was the pregnant one. But I'm down 14 pounds in 2 weeks. So another 15 and then I'll feel svelte again.
nice work, man. Nice work. I'm feeling it too, dude. I'm feeling it too.
So you've unretired from your retirement of legal after TikTok shut down, reopened. But talk about
Yeah, it
your
was a
story,
bad
man.
idea. Apparently, the day I was going to go all in on TikTok, and then it shut down the next day. So that
But
was good, right?
yeah, it was awesome, man. Talk about your story. I mean, you have a background of overcoming obstacles, perseverance. I talked to Rob Solomon a couple of weeks ago. He told me, you're in the you and he both in the Ample program at Nova. I mean, people don't understand how that program gave opportunities to people like you who have become exceptional attorneys. Speak of that experience and how Eric Rosen got to this point. I mean, the short end of it, but I'm going to expound upon it more as we go.
Yeah, that's so funny. I didn't know that Rob was in the Ample program. I probably should have known that. But listen, I was a total screw up in college and got terrible grades. I got a terrible LSAT score, just barely scraped by, failed a bunch of classes, and I needed to take some time away from school for like a year just to kind of get settled in and then I decided to go to law school and I think Nova was the only one that would accept me, and they had this program for degenerates like me and Rob, and then it was like I say it's like the Hunger Games of law school because we had to like compete against each other, and it was cutthroat. And out of like 200 kids, I think they only took 20 or 25% of those kids and accepted them. And but it was weird. Anyone that really went through that program like ended up crushing it in law school. Like it was like this this crucible of like hard work to get through that summer of Ample. And if you got in, you had like good habits of studying, and then
Yeah.
that was it, man. And then I put everything I got into law school, and I turned around and actually started doing well in school.
What brought that? Because I mean, you're from Jersey, right? I see you're from Jersey. You went to Arizona. How did that happen? Right? You went to Arizona, correct?
Yeah. I was at the University of Arizona. The reason I went out there, I was originally grew up in Jersey. I moved to Florida in high school. So my freshman year, I moved down to Florida. And the reason I went out west was like growing up in Jersey. And it's weird. The kids in Jersey are different than the kids in Florida. Like in Jersey, everyone went away to college. You don't stay in Jersey to go to college. You go away.
Yeah.
And so I always had a dream of going out west somewhere. And after I moved to Florida, I wasn't getting accepted to University of Florida because I think they rejected me and I didn't even apply to them. I wasn't getting into any good schools, but I wanted to go out west anyways. I wasn't going to stay in state. And so I think University of Arizona was like one of two places that accepted me. Again, my grades in high school weren't that good, but I don't know, man. The name Tucson, Arizona had like kind of a cool Western sound to it. And that's where I ended up.
I mean, I think in Florida, if you're in South Florida, if you go up to Gainesville or Tallahassee, it's like going to a different country.
It is.
Just
It is. Yeah,
in
I didn't know that though. I
yeah.
really never visited the colleges up there, but it is definitely a totally different place.
Yeah, because I mean, I grew up in South Florida, and going to Gainesville, heck, going to Orlando in the '90s was like a different environment, a different world. And I guess in Jersey, it's like you're where? What do you have? You have Rutgers. You have
Yeah. I don't even know Montclair University. Yeah.
so how what was life like in Arizona? I mean, were you there when they were winning a lot of basketball games? Did you go to basketball games? Was that part of your college experience or?
Like I said, man, my college experience was I probably spent too many days south of the border in Nogales, Mexico. Okay. Crossing the border and doing dumb stuff. So my college years weren't the normal college years. I was not going that. It's actually so funny because like I step back and I look back at that time and it's like, dude, I didn't even see the Grand Canyon. And I didn't go to a single basketball or football game when I was out there. I mean, I
Really?
was like, I was a screw up. I was partying too much. And like I said, taking road trips down to Nogales.
So I'm gonna pop something up on the screen that you posted, and I want to get just a reflection from you on this.
Oh, man, I'm worried about this.
I want to because no, honestly, this is I think a lot of young people when they're young, people are young and they make mistakes. I made plenty of mistakes. I've done my GPA in my undergraduate program was you could sweep it under the rug. It's
Yeah, yeah.
it was rough because I did well in high school. I just didn't focus and put myself to it in college like I should have until the check was out of my own pocket and my parents were like, "You figure this out, man."
Yeah.
So this video you posted, I think this was great, and I'm gonna share this with you've already shared it with everybody. They've already seen it.
Like a goddamn vampire.
When you see that video and you're brought back to that and you made that video, eh, your college professor really tell you that?
Yeah, so there was a college advisor during it was my junior year, that I met with, and I didn't even have like a major or a minor. Like everything was, I had a major in political science, but I needed a minor to graduate, and they were trying to figure something out. And then I started talking about maybe I can go to law school, and I remember distinctly that the LSATs had passed, or like the one that was coming up was too soon, and she made it clear, like, don't even think about doing that. It's too soon. You're not going to be able to take the test. You should think about going to like international relations, like school or something like that. Like you're not going to law school, and like especially with my grades. So I have that distinct memory, and I got no idea. Like, listen, it's a long time ago, but I probably was definitely out of my mind, and I was like, nah. I'm like, no, I'm going to take the LSATs, and I remember taking the LSATs, and I remember being hungover and falling asleep during taking the LSATs. Okay, I shouldn't have been taking the LSATs, and hence that's why I ended up in Ample. But I think I fell asleep during one of the portions of the LSATs, which is crazy. But I remember I was in Arizona. I took some of these courses. I don't know like what kind of, I took like a Kaplan course to study, but I don't remember studying hard for it. And then I remember I had to take a road trip to I think it was Mesa, Arizona. But I stayed I remember I had to drive like an hour and a half. I remember driving like at nighttime. I think I partied that night, and then the next morning I woke up early and went to that test, and I was not in good shape. So my LSAT scores weren't that great. But listen, sometimes you got to just push forward and don't listen to what people tell you to say or what people are telling you, and just do what you're, I don't know, passionate about it, that you want to do.
There's an NBA player, Jaylen Brown. I don't know if you watch NBA basketball or not. I barely watch NBA at this point, but he said that in 2014, his teacher said she would look him up in Cobb County Jail in 5 years.
Yeah.
And he's making $60 million a year playing in the NBA now.
Yeah, I think Michael Jordan had that same story where it was like he wasn't good enough to play on the team. They cut him from the team, and you know what he did?
Yeah.
He went back and he just started shooting hoop after hoop after hoop after hoop, and then became who he was.
What was that moment for you?
The
That
moment of
that of switch. Like what I remember mine. I got thrown out of school.
really,
I got thrown out of school, and I was told, "You're done. You screwed up. My academically in my undergraduate, I was tossed out of school, and they said you're done." And I had to go back, write a long letter, begging, basically begging, and then to an advisor who allowed me to take 2 classes again, and I had to maintain a certain grade level every single semester in order. And then I made the dean's list. I made the dean's list because at that point, I knew I could do it. I was just a lazy bum, and I
yeah,
was just so lazy, and probably almost entitled, and I had to learn. They say intelligent people learn from what is it? Other people's mistakes. Smart people learn from their mistakes. Intelligent ones learn from other people's
yeah,
mistakes.
yeah. That's a good one.
Like
That's a good one.
I'm just smart because I learn from my own mistakes, and it was just that moment where I was like, "What the hell's going to happen to my life at this point?" What was that moment? I've just given people all this information. I have memes made about me now. But what was that? And what was that moment for you? Do you
Oh,
remember it?
yours is nothing compared to mine.
I want to hear yours then.
Listen. I don't want to get into too many of the details, but like I said, I mean, I spent way too much time in Mexico. I spent way too much time partying in college, and I was like a total mess. I mean, I just was not in good shape when I graduated from college, and like you said, I mean, I don't. I had to like really take that year off and like reestablish just like having like a normal 9 to 5 job, just like getting up at a normal hour and like having like a normal routine and some level of discipline. And I remember I got a job at the Broward property appraiser's office here in Broward doing like data input. And it was like just this day after day of doing the same data entry thing with the same group of people that had been there forever. And they weren't really, they had no kind of like aspirations to do anything. And listen, they were all great people, but like for me, it was something like this fire got lit. And I was like, dude, I need to get back together. And like, I took the LSATs, like I know I can do law school. And then I don't know how, like I said, I fought into that program, that Ample program. And that was my one shot. I had nothing else. I had the a $12 an hour job at the property appraiser's office. And I wasn't even hired through them. I was hired through like a leasing company. And I remember I somehow I got accepted into it. And then I went full throttle. When I say full throttle, it was like nothing was going to stop me from getting through that program. And it was like just studying from morning to night, staying in the library. I remember there were a bunch of kids that just graduated college. They're partying every Friday night or Saturday. And I was just in the library, they're just studying and, making sure that no matter what happened, I was going to get in because like I said, I had nothing else. Like there was nothing else that was going to happen in my life.
So the law school students were partying every Friday and Saturday night.
Oh yeah. Like I said, that program, like I said, there's 200 kids are put in there, only 25%. It was just a small group. So like you were getting cut, like the chances of you getting in, the overwhelming majority was not going to law school through that program. And that was like designed like that. Like the professors weren't allowed to let all these people in. You had to show and prove yourself because they didn't want these people dragging down the bar passage rate. They wanted people that can compete and then get in and actually stay successful,
I remember I had applied to law school and I probably should have gone. I probably should have done it. But I actually got accepted into the Ample program in 2014
Really?
around. Yeah, I did. Because I tried to apply. My father was an attorney. He was a judge. And of course he always wanted me to go that route. And I had to my rebellion. I was a rebel, and I always loved writing. I covered sports for the Miami Herald for many years as a freelancer, and then I worked a full-time job. But he always wanted me to do that, and I guess it wasn't my passion. Probably should have been, but you got to. Pops was right, and
Well, I don't know, man.
but
You got to find what
but
you're really passionate about. Because let me
but
tell you, the practice of law is not it's not like
no,
listen. I enjoy it. I love it, but I
no,
know
yeah,
like it's stressful. It's like it's like so funny. I got to talk to Rob about this stuff too. But like we literally live in a world of landmines. Like it's like
Mhm.
deadlines that can explode, and now there's new deadlines that are there, and like you just have to be so strict with yourself and have these. I
Mhm.
wouldn't wish it upon anybody.
No, but the funny thing was is when I got because I initially did not get accepted into Nova's law school or Ample when I first applied like 5 years earlier, and then I applied in 13 or 14, whatever it was, and I got into the Ample program. This was after I got my MBA. I guess they figured I'm not a screw up anymore because I got 3.9 GPA in my MBA program, but I got the notification a week before it started, and it was like $6,000 that I didn't have, and they
Yeah,
don't give aid for that. So it's like I don't even have the money, and I was still applying to FIU, hoping I could get in FIU for a fraction of the cost. So it didn't work out, but I did, and that's what they had told me is like this program is designed for people to fail. So if you get through it, you're gonna be great because this is a grind, and people didn't understand. Like I was told that over and this is designed for people to fail. So if you
yeah.
get through that, I mean that's a major accomplishment. So you graduate and you go to this assistant state attorney's office. What was that experience like? Was that your plan, or was that just how it worked out?
Dude, my plan was complicated. I thought when I got to law school that I had to work for one of these big international law firms and make over $100,000 right out the gate. At these fancy big in the big buildings downtown, and I ended up clerking at one of those places, and it was the worst. I mean, I thought like the associates didn't take. I was in the trial department. The associates didn't take depositions. They weren't going to hearings. The senior partner was like this, just not a nice person. He was scared of going to court. Years later, I found out this guy was like convicted of like major tax fraud. You know, but while I was there, I wasn't enjoying myself at this big firm. I mean, I was making a ton of money as a young, as a law student. I was making crazy money at the time, and I was like, this isn't like I'm not liking it. And I read a book at the library. I found this book called Trial Lawyers, and it was a book about personal injury cases by a lawyer down in Miami, Stanley Rosenblatt, who wrote the book. And it was just exciting. It was like cross-examining witnesses and doing opening statements and closing arguments and helping people and getting verdicts and like changing people's lives. And when I read that, like something that was another fire moment. And I remember, you look back, it was definitely bad form, but I literally quit my job like with no notice. I was like, I'm done with this big firm. I told the lady, I remember this lady, Sandy, who was like in human resources. I'm like, I'm leaving. I'm done. And the next day I applied for a job, and I got a job at a local personal injury law firm, and making not even a quarter of the money. They put me in a closet, Miami at the big firm. I was like in this beautiful office overlooking downtown Miami, like next to the Intercontinental Hotel, that Citigroup building or whatever. And I quit that job, and came up here. They put me in like a little closet doing like some research and writing in this personal injury firm, but the lawyers there were just badasses, and they were trial lawyers, and they would bring me to court and bring me to a deposition or a mediation, and I was able to watch and learn, and that was exciting. So I put everything I could into learning how to be a trial lawyer in law school, and one of the things was becoming a certified legal intern at the state attorney's office, where I was able to try cases as a student, and they treated me nice. They were willing to set aside some of like my terrible history, and they brought me in, and I worked at the state attorney's office for about a year and a half, and it was unbelievable. I mean, I don't think there's a better place for a young lawyer to get trial experience. You're thrown right into the fire. Day one, you're picking a jury, you're calling witnesses, and there's a camaraderie with young people at the state attorney's office or the public defender's office. You're telling stories, you're hanging out after court, you stay late, you get there early. Friday nights is like happy hour with the whole group of people, and it's just a great place to get experience, and you meet the judges and you meet other lawyers. So I wouldn't trade it for the world. I mean, I don't know that you become the best trial lawyer, like you get comfortable in front of a court, in front of a jury, but I think there's a lot of skills that you got to learn, on bigger cases, from someone who handles maybe bigger cases. But the experience at state attorney's office was awesome.
I remember my dad told me when his first case. I don't know if you ever had a moment like this. He went to his first hearing, had no idea what the hell he was doing. He goes in. He doesn't even know what papers he's supposed to have, and this was 1975. It's
Yeah.
1976, and he gets completely undressed by the judge for being unprepared. Did you ever have an experience like that? Because you mentioned they just throw you right in and you're, doing. Did you ever have some type of experience where a judge was like, "Bro, what's going on?"
I never got dressed down by the judge, like, yelled at. I did have a time, I think, where like I was like in the very beginning, I was very zealous, like a zealous prosecutor. Like you don't know like what's the limit and like what's going too far. And I remember like getting into a yelling match with the judge and my trial partner. I don't know, Jared Brown, right? You know Jared Brown?
I
Maybe not. I feel like you know
I don't
Jared.
know
But
her.
anyways, he was my
I may have
trial
been.
partner at the time, and I remember I'm yelling at the judge, and I remember Jared grabbing me and like almost putting me like in a full Nelson to kind of like pull me away from like yelling at the judge. But yeah, I mean, I never got dressed down. I know I've had a couple funny times where like very very like young, where like I didn't know the lingo, like I didn't know what like certain words meant, and I remember like I was at a mediation and it was getting a little heated, and I remember the defense attorney was like, "Let's just adjourn the mediation," and I didn't know what the word adjourn meant, and so I started yelling, like, "Damn, we're not adjourning anything. This will not be adjourned." And everyone was like, "Why is he freaking out?" It's like it just means like let's just reset this for another day, But I didn't know what it meant. I thought it meant like I don't even know, but I knew I definitely overreacted to that word.
Well, you were going for your Jack McCoy right there in Law and Order. You wanted that contempt hearing to have you in a contempt
Yeah.
charge in a jail cell.
I've done some, definitely some fun stuff. But no, fortunately, I was always very, very prepared. Whenever I go to court, I've always been prepared.
What
Because, like I
was
said, I'm not a smart guy. You know what I mean? But I will out prepare my opposition, or whoever I'm up against. I want to make sure that I know everything that's happening, so I can be prepared.
do you mind mentioning that firm that got you into personal injury, or is that something you don't want to mention?
The big firm down in Miami
When you moved over to
that was
PI.
Krupnick
Oh,
Campbell.
really? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and you know what's cool about that is Krupnick Campbell has their name above the courtroom in Nova, and my name is going to be up above the other courtroom at Nova soon also. Pretty cool, huh?
Really? You
Yeah, it
want to
all
make
comes full circle.
do you want to make an announcement, or has this already happened,
No,
or
it's announced. It's announced. They're going to be naming the second mock courtroom, the alumni courtroom, the Eric S. Rosen trial advocacy courtroom. So
That's awesome, man.
yeah, I'm
Congratulations.
excited
That's
about it.
badass. That's awesome. So you're a year and a half at the state attorney's office, and you make that move over to Kelly Ustall. What was that
Yeah,
experience? How'd that work out?
the story is a little bit more complicated. I don't know if you want to hear it.
Go for it. Yeah,
We'll tell about it. So it's interesting because I'm at the state attorney's office, and I went and I interviewed at Kelly Ustall. I wanted to leave the state attorney's office because I really wanted to go to personal injury. And I interviewed with them, and and at the end of the interview, they said, "Well, it was nice meeting you, but we're not hiring right now." And I was like, "Oh, come on." And so it was like probably like October 2008 or so. Anyways, a buddy of mine's friend was killed in a motorcycle accident right around that time. And he mentioned it to me that the insurance company was like giving the surviving wife a problem who he was also friends with, and that they didn't want to pay her the policy or something. And so I knew a little bit of personal injury. So I told him, "Hey, have her give me a call." And she called me when I was at the state attorney's office, and she came in actually to the state attorney's office, and we sat down and talked, and I got a copy of the crash report. And I looked at it, and I was like, they found the motorcyclist, my friend's buddy that was killed, like 100% at fault. He was reckless driving. He was racing. He ran a red light. But I looked at it, and I was like, this person made a left turn in front of him. And I said to her, I'm like, "Listen, I really want to leave the state attorney's office, and I think I might be able to do something with this case. And if you're willing to hire me, I'll leave the state attorney's office, and you'll be my only case. And I'll take a risk, you take a risk, and I won't charge you as much as other people would charge you." And we shook on it, and she signed up, and I gave notice to the state attorney's office. I quit December 2008, and then January 2009, I was out on my own with one case. And I went out and I started interviewing people and like taking photographs and and somehow I found this like key recording that proved that my client didn't run a red light. And the insurance company paid right away because they were going to be held in bad faith. And
wow.
that case settled right away. And then right after that, so I had my own office for like 2 months, 3 months.
Mhm.
And it was the beginning of Rosen injury law. But I knew like I could never be the lawyer I wanted to be without getting the mentorship and like training. And right around that time, in like March or so, Todd McFarland from Kelly Ustall reached out to me and said, "Hey, like Bob gave me your resume, and I'm looking for a guy to help me with my tobacco cases. What are you doing?" And I was like, "Well, I left the state attorney's office. I already have my own office." And I talked with a bunch of people that I know and trust, and they're like, "Eric, doesn't hurt to go in and talk." And I met with Todd, and next thing you know, they gave me an offer, and I started working there, and I was there for 11 years. Yeah.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. Was so, how did you end up in tobacco? Well, you ended up in tobacco immediately.
I
What
was
was that? What was that experience like? Because I mean, you're one of the most prestigious tobacco attorneys in the country. You've gone through trial after trial after trial. I mean, you've done. I mean, how many thousands?
No, not that. I mean, I've
Hundreds?
handled hundreds of cases, but I probably
Yeah.
tried 15 or 16 tobacco cases, something like that.
I mean, talk about that experience with the tobacco companies, because that's obviously you're fighting these big giants in this
Yeah, listen,
country.
I jumped in. I went to Kelly Ustall, and within just a couple months, I think we tried our first case, and I was fourth chair. I'm helping out and staying up all night and behind the scenes doing everything. And then I got to watch Todd and Bob Kelly and Ustall, and I would for a couple of years at least up until about 2014. I was the tobacco associate, so I was just learning everything I could possibly learn about tobacco stuff. And I think it got to a point where Todd really wasn't interested, and he didn't really want to try those cases anymore. And the team, we knew that the tobacco cases were good cases, but we needed to push them forward. And so they somehow ended up beneath me. It was me pushing those cases. And like I said, it's kind of surreal looking back at it, but I ended up really managing their tobacco caseload and then just getting them all set for trial. And then somehow all of a sudden, 2015, I had my first trial and I got a verdict. And then 2016, all of a sudden was like this crazy breakthrough year. Like I went in on a case where no one in the office wanted to try it. They were like, "We're going to lose." It was a definite loss. I remember Bob told me, he's like, "Eric, go in there." We ended up trying that case. I tried to settle it for $50,000 and they refused to pay more than $35,000. But there was something about that bothered me so much that they wouldn't just pay 50. And so I talked to Bob, and Bob's like, "Eric, just go in and try it. Like, listen, if you win, you're a hero. If you lose, no pressure, because it's a loser case." And I went in and we got a $13 million verdict, and which ended up getting paid within a year. So it was like one of those breakthrough years where I hit that one, and then the next one was me and Kim Wald. We hit a $28 million one, and then like another $7 million. It was like this back to back. Like we had like a recipe for success, and we were that was it. We just lined them up. And what was cool about it was that like not a lot of young lawyers try that many cases, especially at like that level, like multi-week complex cases with lots of medicine, lots of documents. And I was fortunate. I was really fortunate because Kelly Ustall was paying for it. It's like very expensive cases to try to work up, and but we did fantastic, and we had a lot of fun. So
when you think about that $13 million verdict, what did they say when you came back on this loser of a case and bring in a $13 million verdict? And I mean, what does Bob Kelly and John, what do Bob and John say about this? Because
that was unbelievable. And what the funny part is, I remember I have the email. I got to look in my documents, but I have the email from the defense attorney where he said, I said, "Can we get it done for 50,000?" And he wrote back, "Best and final 35." And then I remember when the jury was deliberating, he walked up to me, the defense attorney walked up and said, "You should have just taken the 35,000, because the jury came back with a bad question. It looked like we were going to lose. People that don't work at a trial firm that really try cases don't have the experience that I had. But like, whenever we would win a case, and at Kelly Ustall, there was something really special about it. Like it was such a moment for everybody, like whether you're on the team or not on the team. And one of the great things I remember that's unique about Kelly Ustall was that whenever I'd get a verdict, and especially this verdict, we would come back from the courthouse and we would walk in through the lobby, and then there's like a staircase that goes upstairs. Every single person in the office was lining the stairs, was in the lobby for everybody. Like you stop what you were doing, you came in, and we would walk in with the client, and it would just be clapping and screaming and like celebrating. And then they'd have, food and stuff in the courtroom. It was just this moment, that you look back. And so that was one of those cases where it was like, whoa, like how'd that happen?
What did the client say?
Oh, the client was thrilled. I mean, she's a sweetheart, and she's still on my Facebook. She's still a friend, and her my other client, he gave me he was in the military, and he was like a chief master sergeant in the Air Force, and he had just finished up. I think, I remember him telling me all the stories about. Yeah, I guess he didn't just finish up, but he told me all the stories about like all the artillery and stuff. He did some type of I forget what the ordnance is what he did, but he was a chief master sergeant. Anyways, I still have it in my office here. He gave me this certificate of flag presentation. It's this beautiful framed like flag, and it says certificate of flag, and he called me Captain America.
Oh, that's nice. Nice.
And that was really great coming from him, because he was like, he's a serious dude. So
when you have these verdicts, I mean, some people may think, okay, case is done, they pay, but they appeal all these things, right?
Yeah,
and then you gotta go through that process, right?
Tobacco cases, you play it's a long game, and in fact, I just heard that one of my cases, it just finally got resolved. I tried the case in 2016. It was a $28 million verdict. It literally just got finalized a month ago. This past month, yeah. So almost 9 years it's been going on.
Wow, because I remember I was in your office, and you got when I was visiting your office, you got a call that the appeal came in, and you think your wife called you, right? Yeah. Your wife called you, and he's like, and you started jumping up and down because the appeal went your way, and it was affirmed, and you guys win, and then, I mean, that one was a few years, right?
Yeah, that one probably. And I'm trying to figure out I'm trying to think which one it was, because there's been a lot of.
I recorded it for you.
I remember when you were there, and I'd have to look back at which one it was in the scheme of the trials that we had. I think it was Holloman, and that was the case I tried in 2019.
Philip Morris,
in Miami,
2.5 million verdict.
Yep, I remember it.
Yeah. So you've now had your firm now for 4 years?
5 years. We just celebrated our 5-year anniversary. Yeah.
Congratulations. When did you know it was time? I mean, you started your firm years earlier for a couple of months. When did you know it was time that you were going to make that move to do it yourself, be your own boss, start your own practice?
Sometime probably, and it's interesting because it wasn't like something I thought about for a very long time. Like I was never thinking, I don't think I thought about having my own firm really during like the 11 years that I was there, except probably maybe year 10 or year 9.5. In my mind, I read a book. It was by like this guy, Tim Ferriss, and it was called Tools of Titans. And it was like a book about being an entrepreneur and about growing a business and marketing, and there was something there that lit some kind of fire. And that book led me to another book, like reading some of Tony Robbins stuff, or some other marketing books, like just this different group of people that I'd never opened my mind to. As far as just, I was always a trial lawyer. I was a litigator. Like I was learning from Jerry Spence Trial Lawyers College and Keith Mitnick and Alex Alvarez, and just my goal was just becoming a tool, like an instrument, right, in a courtroom. It was never that other aspect of like running and owning a business. And so something there like lit that fire. And I think I got to a point where I said, hey, like I'll never know everything about being a lawyer, but I got to a point where I was like, hey, like I can go in and I can try a case against anybody. Like, and it doesn't matter how big or powerful or whatever. Like, I know I have the skills now in the courtroom, and I had a reputation, and I had like that fire, and I was spending a lot of time in the office and a lot of time on the weekends, and I was missing my kids kind of growing up. And I made a decision. It was like a life decision. I weighed the pros and cons, and I really thought about it. I wrote it down, and this something happened where the fire was right there, and I said the light switch went off, and it was like, okay, now it's time to do this. And flipped the switch, made the move, and then and 5 years have gone by.
What's that? I mean, looking back at some of your experiences, I saw that you went to the Wyoming, a trial lawyers college in Wyoming. What was that? What was that experience like? Because I read that was a big thing for you.
Yeah. No, I mean, it was a great thing. I won't look back and say like it was like this groundbreaking. Like I had a really good time, and I never really like it was an amazing experience.
Mm-hmm.
I think that group is pretty. Like if you're really into it, they're very intense. A little like too intense for me. But it was a great experience, and you spend 3.5 weeks, and you kind of get to know yourself a little bit more and on a deeper level, and you also kind of learn how to work up cases in a different angle, which I still continue to use, but not quite as much as I used to. Yeah, I mean that was great because it was before I had kids, and I was able to go away for that time frame and really focus on myself and growing a little bit and learning and kind of getting like disconnecting from all like the digital stuff that's going on around the world. And I thought it was amazing. You make some great connections. I mean, I still have friends that I still stay in touch with from that was September of 2012. So I remember that. Yeah.
So I also saw an article where you mentioned a specific professor from Nova, Olympia Duhart. Was she someone who hit a switch that maybe others don't hit, or
I don't want to
did you
say
learn?
that.
I mean, no, I mean, there's always people that make it. There's those people in your life individually. I mean, it's okay that
No,
had an
like
impact
I'm
on
trying
you.
to think like who's been like inspirational or something like that. I mean, Duhart's just a close friend, and so I've just stayed connected, and I speak for her class and stuff, and I know she's just a great person, and she's someone that I've stayed connected with over at Nova, which I appreciate.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, trying to think of people who really had an impact. And I don't say this too much. I mean, I haven't and I don't talk to him too much anymore. I mean, we stay in touch and text each other every so often or have a phone call. But like Alex Alvarez,
Okay.
John Ustall, Bob Kelly, they have such an impact on me. Todd Falzone, McFarland, like really, because I spent so much time at Kelly Ustall.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was a certain time where Alex Alvarez got involved and started helping out with some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that just seeing a different style of trial lawyer that also had like a huge impact. It was like everyone has different styles. And when you're able to kind of take all of that stuff and, implement it in the way your own style, but can then kind of like do your own thing, but you still take little pieces from everybody. Alex Alvarez definitely had a big impact too, for sure.
So you have your firm. I mean, obviously it's a different situation because now you're the HR guy. You got to hire people. You got to, deal with vacation time. If someone calls out sick, it's like you have to deal with all those things. How did you balance that from basically you're a trial lawyer, but now you're everything lawyer, business owner, going through all those things? What was that difference like, especially initially? I'm sure that by now you're used to it, but when you first started your own practice.
Yeah, I think like I got like one of the good habits I had from Kelly Ustall was like managing my cases and my team. And I got to a level where like I'm able to delegate a lot of the work out to other people to be able to work it up to a point where like I wasn't taking a lot of depositions of witnesses. I wasn't going to a lot of hearings. Like I'm the guy that comes in now, like I'm able to quickly look at all that stuff towards the end, synthesize it, put it into a way that we can present it to a jury. And that's kind of how like we've set it up here. Like I when I first left, I brought a really strong paralegal, and she worked on we didn't have any cases. But when I opened up my own firm, I had 0 cases.
Okay.
And we had to find cases. And so like as we were able to find those cases, my paralegal was able to work on them, and I was able to manage her and spend just a little bit of time quarterbacking what she was doing, and then my focus would be on marketing and growing and that aspect of it. And I think it's kind of stayed similar, where the team has grown exponentially, but I got very competent, great lawyers, very smart, very aggressive, and they run the cases, but they have me as the resource, and we have our weekly meetings. Whenever they have questions, they can just I'm always here, and then I'm able to focus on doing podcasts and doing the social media stuff and some of the other stuff that I really enjoy, and human resources or management stuff. So it's a matter of, I think, being able to balance the legal stuff, but then really, for me at least, focusing 80-90% of my time on growing the firm and focusing on marketing and stuff.
Now, this is an area I definitely wanted to hit with you, because you have become, or you are, not become, you are one of, from what I've seen, one of the most influential attorneys on social media. I've never seen anything like it before. Your videos are fun, they're entertaining, but they're also informative. And I mean, you're following 78,000 followers on Instagram. I mean, that doesn't happen a lot of times for lawyers. 88,000 on TikTok. I mean, your videos are a lot of fun to watch, and they're great. How did that happen? Because I mean, you read a book. You said you read a book on social media and so forth. Did you learn to do this editing yourself, and the ideas? Where do these ideas come from?
All right, so I'll tell you.
Because I want you to give attorneys some pointers on, like, let's say 3 top pointers on how they can do that for themselves as well. Because I mean, it's awesome what you're doing.
Yeah. So we'll get to the 3 pointers. So
yeah.
When I left Kelly Ustall, I had a LinkedIn page. I didn't have YouTube. I did not have an Instagram page. I had Facebook. I did not have TikTok, any of that stuff. And so when I left, there was something, even before I left Kelly Ustall, in my mind, I wanted to do short form video. I thought that would be interesting if you could just create little topics and interesting stuff, short form video. And this was before TikTok, I think, even started. But right when the pandemic hit, I didn't have an Instagram page. I got to look back, because I don't think I even started an Instagram page. I might have started right around that time. I didn't have TikTok. And for some reason, pandemic hit, everything shut down, and I had no cases, and I had to figure out a way, how can I market? And I always wanted to do the videos. So I started to watch YouTube videos on how to make YouTube videos. And so I just started learning the editing, the audio. I need lighting, I need a camera. And during the pandemic, I started making videos. Like you said, like, you got to figure out what's going to be useful to your audience. So I started making YouTube videos on how to do Zoom depositions or Zoom exhibits, things like that no one else was doing. And I learned how to do it by watching other YouTube videos, and I started to edit this stuff myself. And it was funny, because so many people would call up and be like, Eric, you're talking too fast. Eric, like, why are you, like, you're trying to, like, you want car accident cases. Like, why are you marketing? This is all these lawyers that are watching you. And what they didn't realize was that I was marketing to other lawyers. Like, I wasn't focused on getting someone who's in a car accident. They're not going to see my video, but all these people that are watching my YouTube videos. And to this day, I have a number of people that during the pandemic watched those YouTube videos, reached out to me, and we built, a relationship. And we refer cases to each other. We know each other. We're friends, and it's still there. So that was huge, was during the pandemic. And that's when I started TikTok, and I started just kind of messing around, making short videos, learning how to edit it. And all of a sudden, 1 or 2 will hit. They'll get a big, lots of views. And then you kind of work off of that and figure out. So the 3 tips, if you were talking about like 3 tips, I think the first tip is, if you create a video and it's popular and it gets views, then do something similar. Like, don't try to reinvent the wheel. Like, there's a video on Instagram that we got 7-point-something million views on Instagram, which is unbelievable. Like, I never got that kind of traction. That's and as amazing. Soon as I saw the style of the video, I said, okay, let's start doing these over and over again. And that's how that Instagram following kind of spiked, like, majorly. So find something that, like, don't try to reinvent the wheel. If you find something that hits, just keep doing it. So like the Zoom videos during the pandemic, they were getting views. So I just did Zoom video after how to take a Zoom deposition, how to do exhibits. I think that's one thing. Two, the next tip for lawyers out there is don't worry about like the audio and the lighting. Like just get your iPhone, get the video recorded and post it. Like don't be so worried about everything being perfect. Like I've had so many videos I've created that have blown up. It's because I made a mistake in the video. You know what I mean? Because people will call you out. But like in social media, bad press is good press sometimes. You know what I mean? And then the third video, or the third tip, I guess, for people trying to create content. I don't know. I don't watch so many other people. Like I don't watch to learn to make like I would say try to do something unique, like be creative. So you ask me like, where do these ideas come from? It's me sitting there like watching videos that aren't legal videos, you know, like flipping through and be like, oh, maybe you do that, but like with a legal twist to it, you know?
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff you can do.
So that I see is that the 7.5 million view one, the one of hiring a full-time lawyer instead of a housekeeper?
Yeah.
How,
So
how'd that
I
how'd that idea come up?
I came up with out of the blue. I don't know. I was like, I was like, hey, let's do a video where like you have a full-time lawyer and like I'll just pop up from like out of nowhere, like during like interesting times, you know?
Uh-huh.
And so we started doing those and we started doing them. Like we'd go out into my car in the parking lot and we would do a skit and I just pop out from the back seat. And it's just like, it's like visually it captures you, you know, so you have that hook.
Mhm.
And it's also like it's a tip, you know what I mean? It's like an interesting, useful tip. So people are getting the information and they're getting captured by something interesting.
You know, I've one of the things I also think about is that people, I guess maybe at times they want to be perfectionists and they want the video to be so perfect. It's just like you got to get it out there, and they'll think about it so much potentially, and they'll correct it and correct it and correct it. And by the time at a certain point, it's like it's been a week now, you're correcting a video, and that just wastes a lot of time. I think the consistency also is a big component. Because and maybe some of the older attorneys, they don't really dig social media and stuff like that, but we're in a different generation. Because I mean, myself, I have a sports podcast now, but I learned how to do Canva and stuff like that to create social media videos for Synergy. And I look at it, I'm like, this isn't, I gotta fix this. I gotta fix this. I just put it out there. That's the way the way I view it now myself is you're gonna make mistakes. You're not perfect, but no one is. So
you just got to get it out there. You just got to get it out there.
I think I think what you've done is rather amazing, and their attorneys could learn so much from you for this. And I completely get the idea of you're interviewing attorneys because it's creating a network all around you.
I
It's a
love
network
it.
all around you.
Out of everything that I do, like it's the most joy. Like like you want to find something like you enjoy in life, right?
Yeah.
Like it's so fun to have another lawyer to learn about their practice area, have them come by the office, cut up a video for them. They can promote them. You put it on their website. We just have a good time. And like you said, you're building a network of people now. And I always thought like one of the things that I learned from those like the marketing book or whatever is like. It's like if you just do stuff that's just like nice for other people, like without expecting anything in return. Like I never ask. I don't ask. And there's not a single time that I've had anyone come to my office and I do a video for them and say, hey, listen, by the way, if you get a car accident case or, personal injury, just think of me. Like never done it. I don't do it. I don't think it's just like, I don't like it. You know what I mean? It's the idea of like, just do something nice for other people. And maybe it'll come back, maybe it won't, but you still did something good, and you still created some interesting content. You helped other people. So I've always tried to view it like that is I never do the ask,
Of course. This 2024, you had a big win. You're one of the top 5 verdicts in Florida.
Yep.
$25 million verdict. I saw the video that you posted on that. I mean, what was that? I don't know if you can speak about the case at all. Probably it's an appeal right now, I'm guessing. But talk about that experience. You had large verdicts at Kelly Ustall, but this
Yeah.
is in your house, the house
Yep.
that the house that Eric Rosen built.
Yeah.
What did that mean to you and your team?
Sure. Well, I can tell you that there is no appeal.
Oh,
And what I'm allowed to say is that the case was resolved to the mutual satisfaction of the parties, confidentially.
oh,
Okay.
oh my God, Eric, man.
That's all I could say. All right.
Eric, I think you are retiring to become a TikToker.
Yeah, I know, right? That case
Wow.
was just a crazy. Like sometimes cases come across your desk. It was just a sad, wild, crazy. The story was just unbelievable, and I get involved in cases with an expectation that 98, 99% of cases are going to settle,
Mhm.
and we're not going to go to trial. That was one that I said from day one over and over and over again, there is no way they're going to try this case. There's no way they would try this case. The facts are so bad. Why would they want the publicity? They're going to pay. They're going to call us before trial. Maybe they're going to try to beat us up and get right into the courthouse steps, but they're going to settle. And the phone call never came. And it was like a classic, like I kept saying, even when I was driving up there on the Sunday before picking the jury, they're going to call. They got to call. I even called Alex Alvarez, and he's like,
Wow.
they're going to call you right after jury selection. Right after you pick the jury, they're going to call you. The phone call, I picked the jury, and the phone call never came. I did opening statements, and the phone call never came. And I went in there, and listen, I tried the case like a tobacco lawyer. I had almost whatever it is, 11 years of going up against the biggest and baddest corporations in the world. And when we go in, we spare no expense. We put on the biggest and baddest show with every piece of technology, every piece of evidence, every piece of the skills that we have. We brought in a jury consultant. We did a bunch of behind the scenes studying of the different issues in the case and how we could present them and frame the issues. We went in there, guns blazing. And I knew there was something while I was up there. It was funny because I thought that case would settle. And I had tickets to a Pearl Jam show. I was going to go to Boston that week with my son and my family. And I couldn't even sell the tickets. I missed that show. And I stayed up in this hotel up in Inverness, Florida for that, week and a half in that little courtroom in the middle of nowhere.
In Inverness, Florida, there's like 12 people there.
Yeah, small town. I love the town though. It was really like very, very cool, like Florida. I mean, there was and we went in and we got the verdict. And I think the defense did not think that they thought it was a conservative county. There was never any big verdicts up there. And, we knew what the data showed. We did the studies from before, we did big data studies and we did focus groups. And we kind of knew we had an idea of where we would land, and like the data was spot on point.
Can you say what type of case this was or no?
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was a sexual assault case against a woman in a hospital that her nurse sexually assaulted her behind closed doors for over a 4-hour period, and we brought a case against the hospital for negligence, for negligent security, and for medical malpractice. And the jury sided with us. It was just a crazy case. They I don't think they believe. Who knows?
Yeah.
But my adversaries were worthy adversaries. I was going up against a senior, named partner from a massive law firm in Florida. He's the owner of the firm. He's got the first name on the door. They brought in a sexual assault expert attorney from Arizona who flies around and all she does is try sexual assault cases. They brought her in like 2 or 3 weeks before the trial started. And as soon as her name showed up, I go, oh, she's going to look at this case and say, we got to get this case settled.
Wow. It's what I'm looking at the Citrus County Courthouse. This is like one of those.
We can't. Let's not talk about the name of the name of the hospital.
Oh no! I was just saying like Citrus County, like the
yeah.
the court. Because when you mention Inverness, I think of those like Back to the Future courthouse type look buildings. And when you see, like, I was actually on jury duty literally the last 3 weeks, and there's a picture of the initial Broward County courthouse on the wall in that where we were, and it's like one of those 2-story buildings, probably
Yep.
with 12 rooms, and that's what this reminds me of, like these old school courthouses.
So that courthouse that you're looking at, that old picture, is
Yeah.
it's a museum now, and it's right next to the real courthouse, or the current courthouse. So they
Okay.
kept it. There was a famous movie that was filmed in that courthouse,
Oh,
but
wow.
or in that museum now. But yeah, right next to it, there's a little bit more of a modern, but it's still a little bit older. But real small town. You walk in. The first day I was there, we said hello to the deputies there at the front door, showed them my bar card, and then from then on, I never had to take anything out through the metal detectors. It was just you walk in, and
Dude, I went through Broward County's metal detectors, had to take my pants off and the
Yeah,
whole
I know,
nine
I
just
know.
to walk in the door. And I'm going there for 3 straight weeks. And I'm sitting here like, do you not know? I started wearing sweatpants
Yeah,
because
yeah,
every time I pull up my belt, my pants started to fall. And I'm just like, this is crazy. It's taking me
yeah, I
10 minutes
know.
to get redressed. But
Right next to the courthouse up there too, there's this lake called Cooter Pond, or not lake, it's a pond right next to the courthouse, and it's got like this like elevated dock that you're able to walk around on it, and there's alligators, like 4 or 5 big alligators just swimming around in there, and I'm like, every day I would go over because it's right next to the courthouse, like
is there a
lunchtime,
fence around
breakfast,
the lake?
no fence. You're in like an elevated, so you're about
Okay.
10 feet above the water probably.
Okay.
But every day, dude, I'd walk by there and just walk, and I'm like, I don't know what it is with alligators. They're just so cool. So I would go, and that was like where I would clear my mind before everything.
They have no chance of crawling out of that lake.
I don't
area,
think
do they?
they can't get up there now. I mean, they're a little bit high enough, but I felt safe.
So now you can call Pearl Jam to do a at-home concert.
Well, it's crazy. They just released a couple dates here in Hollywood, so I got both nights. They're going to be here in April, so I got two nights of Pearl
That's
Jam here. So
awesome.
it all
That's
worked out.
awesome. So I mean, you have a very successful firm. I mean, congratulations on all of that. You have children, married.
Yep.
Talk about, I mean, now you have the ability to have that family life that you were missing. Now you get to experience your kids all the time. I know you have those father-son go to Tropical Acre Steakhouse. I've seen
Yeah,
the
for sure.
videos. What do those mean to you?
Listen, it means everything. It means everything to be able to spend more time with your kids, and you always like stop and like reflect. Like, I'm living like my wildest dreams. You know what I mean? Like I couldn't imagine. Like if I were to talk to the kid who was at University of Arizona and ask him like, what would your life be like? 25 years later or whatever, he wouldn't have known that. He wouldn't have understood it. He wouldn't. He could never understand like what the future would have, like the wild ride that it's been. And listen, I'm always someone that like, sometimes you got to slow down, because even running a business and having a whole team and doing all the stuff we do, we get caught up, and it's like you're almost right back to where you're not spending as much time with the kids as you want to. You're not doing this, and so it's something that I'm trying to always continually keep an eye on. But it's nice being able to leave the office when I need to leave the office. And as a business owner, you're always working. Like, I'm always working. It's like, I'm taking phone call. I signed up like 3 cases this weekend. I ran a marathon yesterday morning, and then signed up a case. As soon as I got back to the hotel, my legs weren't working. I got a phone call, new case. I take the client, I do the intake, I sign them up, so it never stops, but it's nice to be able to have the flexibility as the owner to kind of be able to run around and see the kids.
Okay, you just brought that up because I saw it yesterday when you posted it. You just ran a 26.2-mile marathon.
Yeah.
What was your first of all, that's unbelievable. I posted I need a car to do that, because I don't know that I can maybe go a mile and then my legs will be gone. I know a couple people that actually did it as well. Yes, it was the Miami Marathon, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What was what is your training like? Because you must run every day or a lot to get your body. Had you done that before as well?
Yeah, so I ran the marathon, the Fort Lauderdale Marathon last year, and my training to do it, like my motivation and drive level was like peak. So I was training pretty much every day, doing long distance runs, like real long distance runs on the weekend, and then 5-6 mile runs, 8 mile runs through the week, like every day. Like you're doing a lot of running. You take days off here and there to let your body rest. So I was in peak performance for the Fort Lauderdale one. This one I started practicing, or I started training in like November timeframe, October. But I didn't put everything into it like I did the last time, and like because I think my motivation level, it varies.
Mhm.
And so I think I felt that yesterday. Like I didn't put in everything that I could have put in training. And I think a lesson you should always learn is we sweat in training so we don't bleed in combat, But another tough thing was I got sick. Like last Saturday night, I got really like a bad cold.
Yeah.
And like having that on my body, like having that in my body yesterday was a drain. Plus it was very sunny out there and very hot. And that made it difficult because you drink a lot more water. And it slows to me, at least, being sick, sun in the heat, and drinking, having to, hydrate as much as I was. It was a tough run yesterday. But
But you
listen,
got
no
it.
matter what, no matter what, you have the mindset. It's like, no matter what happens, I'm going to finish.
Yeah.
And like, even though I got sick, I'm like, I've been working up towards this. Like, I can't just not do it. I can't like say no. Like, I've built it up in my mind. I got to do it. I signed up. So the half marathon was easy. That was no problem. And then mile 15, 16, my body started to hurt pretty good. But you just keep running. You just don't stop,
How are your legs today?
I feel they're sore. I'm definitely sore. My foot, one of the things they do, which I didn't in the marathon I did last year, they didn't have this, so I didn't have to, and because it wasn't so hot out. But this one, there were people that were spraying like water at like each kind of like every mile and a half. There's like a station where you can stop for a little bit of water, and they had the people spraying. And so as soon as like after like mile 14, I had someone spray me, and I didn't realize, but like they sprayed my shoes like a lot. And so I'm running, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh man, my feet are squishing a bunch. And I'm like, I realized like my feet are soaking wet. So like when I got back, man, afterwards, my feet are not in good shape right now. But
Oh,
like,
do you have to run over a bridge? Do you have to run over a bridge to Miami Beach or anything like that for this?
Yeah, dude, you do three. There were 3 bridges we did. So you start in front of the arena, the whatever it is, the American Airlines Arena.
Yeah.
It's something else now.
Yeah.
Right there, you make your first right on that bridge. I don't know if it's 395 or 195, but you
Oh
run
yeah, yeah.
across the bridge past, I think, Parrot Kingdom's over there.
Parent Jungle.
I think so.
Yeah.
All I know
Yeah,
is we ran across that bridge into South Beach, and then you run north all the way up to Lincoln Road, past Lincoln Road,
Jesus.
and then you come back over the other bridge, and then you run back towards up to downtown, and then I ended up running all the way to Coconut Grove. It's dude, 26.2 miles is a distance,
Do you almost say like, guys, like we're running 26.2 miles. You're having us run over a bridge that goes up like this.
Dude, the
Like that.
bridges were
That's
the hardest. The bridges were
exhausting.
the hardest part because they also they're just totally exposed to the sun.
Yeah.
And when you're just in that brutal heat, like that's not like the fun part. The fun part's like kind of when you're running, you know what I mean? Like running through downtown South Beach is fun. Running over the bridges in like the blistering sun, not fun.
Not fun. But no, you did it. Congratulations. That's
Yeah, I was going
remarkable.
to finish I was finishing no matter what,
That's remarkable. That's remarkable. Eric, I greatly appreciate it, but I got one last question for you. I mean, I haven't mentioned this. I didn't brought this up. When you're this college kid, I mean, obviously your parents, what do they say to you? Because I know what my father said to me, and now you are where you are. Like, do they ever have that conversation? If they're still alive, do they ever have that conversation? And like, what you've done is amazing.
Yeah,
Because that's obviously the parents' dream.
yeah. I mean, I think if I were to say like my dad, probably more. That that he because he was a lawyer. He's retired now, and he always says like you took being a lawyer to a different level like than he ever touched, and and so yeah. I mean, listen, my dad's very proud of both me and my brother because me and my brother were definitely both degenerates. And my brother runs a really successful business and has a great family. And same thing with us. I think the bottom line is he's just happy we're happy, you know. So yeah, I mean, listen, we definitely made our mistakes in our younger years. So, but yeah,
I
very
think
proud.
I think it's a great lesson for people that you can overcome things, and I think that's
Yeah,
what my goal in this podcast was always about, was humanization of people and their journeys to here, because people, general public, typically are afraid of lawyers, afraid of doctors, intimidated. But you're people just like everybody else, and you had to go through things to get to this point, you know. And I think that's a testament to what you've done. And I congratulations on all your success. I know you're going to continue to do amazing things. Do you have any last words
no,
before
man.
you
Listen,
go?
I want to thank you just for having me on here, man. I'm thrilled with everything that you're doing. You're a tremendous resource in the community, and I love that you're doing this podcast and putting it together and inviting everybody. And I think it's fantastic, man. It's what I think that it's just a cool thing, man. So it's awesome.
Thank you again. Thank you, Eric. Again, thank you again, ladies and gentlemen. Eric Rosen, founder and owner of Rosen Injury Law. Before you go, let everyone know where they can find you.
They can find me at roseninjury.com. They can also do calleric.com. And my Instagram is Rosen Injury Law.
All right, folks. There you have it. Eric Rosen, a true legal legend. Thank you again, Eric. I greatly appreciate you.
Thanks for having me, man.
God bless.